My name is Sarah Saperstein. I work at the U.S. Consulate in Yekaterinburg as our Public Affairs Officer, where I run our cultural, educational, and media programs. I have been in Yekaterinburg since July of 2014. So I learned that I would be coming to Yekaterinburg in 2013. And at that time, I really didn't know a lot about Yekaterinburg. I knew that the Romanovs had been executed here, and I knew that Boris Yeltsin was from here, but I had never been to Russia, and the image that I had of Yekaterinburg in my mind was what I had found on Wikipedia. If I had to give American visitors to Yekaterinburg 3 pieces of advice, the first piece of advice I would give them is to go see the Yeltsin Center now that it is opened. I would also recommend that they walk up and down Vainira Street. That is one of the first things that I did in Yekaterinburg, and it is very interesting for us to see pedestrianized streets like that and to people watch. And then the third piece of advice that I would give them is difficult, because I would either say that they should visit the Church on the Blood, which is very well known, or I would say that they need to go see dance. I really like the ballet here, and I also really like the modern dance here. So. I suppose one of the things that struck me most about Yekaterinburg then was how the river freezes over and to see people crossing the river. I am from Virginia in the United States. When we have 1 inch of snow, school is closed and we all stay home, and I've never seen a river completely frozen over before. And so when I saw people walking across the river in Yekaterinburg for the first time, I thought, wow, they must be crazy. And then I saw people jumping on the river and trying to take pictures of themselves on the river, and that left a very interesting impression. Speaking of things that I've never heard of before, recently I understand that Russians celebrated Epiphany, and many Russians chose to jump into icy cold water in the depths of winter in January. Before coming to Russia, I had never witnessed people jumping into icy cold water before, and particularly people who decided to take off their clothes to jump into icy cold water. You are very brave. I thought that that kind of activity would get people sick, and actually one of my colleagues tried to participate in Epiphany, and now he is very sick afterwards. So maybe it takes practice to get accustomed to jumping in icy cold water. I really like anything with mushrooms. For me, I have really enjoyed grechka with mushrooms and other dishes that involve them. I also like blini, particularly any blini that have chocolate related to them. I myself am a vegetarian, so I don't actually eat meat, which has been a little bit of an adjustment in Russia. Some people are surprised when I say that. But overall, I have found that there are certainly elements of Russian cuisine that I can eat and enjoy. Because I work here, I learned about the concept of business lunch, which in the United States does not exist. Sometimes in the United States at lunch, we are used to eating a sandwich or eating a salad. But in Russia, I learned that business lunch is a complete meal, and you go and you order off of a set menu. So the first time I arrived at a restaurant and I was asked if I want business lunch, I looked with such surprise because I had no idea what they were asking me. I said, yes, I understand you are a business, and yes, I want lunch, but I am confused what is going on. I like business lunch, but that's something else that was different for me. One of my funniest moments in Yekaterinburg took place last winter. I live in Yekaterinburg with a cat that I adopted when I lived in Venezuela. His name is Simon. He is a very tropical cat, and I had gone away on vacation and left him with some friends of mine who were looking after him. I went to their apartment to pick up my cat, and we went outside to call a taxi. And I called the taxi, and for whatever reason, the address that my friends had given me that they lived at was not the address that any taxi company could identify. So I was there talking to the taxi driver over and over, saying, no, 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 they live on this street, this street, this street. And the taxi company kept telling me, no, 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 that street doesn't exist. And meanwhile, I'm standing outside with my cat in maybe minus 15 degrees, and my poor Venezuelan cat is meow, 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 and upset. And finally, this very, very nice taxi driver who kept calling me to ask, can you give me a landmark? How can I find you? And I was doing my best with my very broken Russian to explain. He found a hostel. And in that hostel, apparently there was somebody staying who spoke some English. And this random person got on the phone with me. I speak some English, how can I help? And I tried to explain to him where I was, and he translated to the taxi driver to explain where I was. And eventually the taxi driver found me. I was waiting outside with my cat maybe for 20 minutes. And when the taxi driver found me, he got out of his taxi and he gave me the biggest hug ever. And he said, I have found you, I'm so happy. And for me, it was one of the funniest moments of my time here, because I have never before encountered such friendly and open taxi service, nor such a dedicated taxi driver who was willing to drive around and find help, and especially translation help, to find my cat and I.